Thank you very much, Amanda. Good morning. Habari zenu? Mko area? Mko area, eh? Thank you very much. This is truly a very good meeting. Your Excellency, the Ambassador for the United States to Kenya, Margaret Whitman, or popularly known as Meg. I'm very happy and pleased to see you here hosting this meeting under USAID Wash Week. We have the Governor of Nyandarua and my sister Susan Nakunicha, represented ably by another Susan, Head of Public Health. Congratulations. Thank you very much, the two of you, for your very good remarks for this event and the recommendation that the Minister, Cabinet Secretary for Health has made in regard to my ministry. Send my regards to her. Thank you very much. We will continue to partner. In the interest of time, I'll go straight to my speech this morning, and because I'm aware that Meg is, maybe all of us are under pressure in terms of time. There is a lot of constraint. I was told you are getting to another meeting. Similarly, I will not be able to be with you because I'm running into another meeting regarding the same commodity we are talking about, water and sanitation. I recognize that the COG is ably represented here by the Governor of Nyandarua, my brother from one of the key water sources. Other colleagues represented here and partners in this field, together with the ministry, the two ministries which are here, and maybe others who are not here, government officials. Good morning once again. It gives me great pleasure here this morning to participate in this WASH planning event that seeks to deliberate on the USAID initiatives in water supply, sanitation, and hygiene space. I note with appreciation that the event seeks to share the details of the support from the American people, but also to share among partners and stakeholders on topical issues and sector management approaches that we have planned together. Such engagement is critical to enhance efficiency and effectiveness of the development support. As you are all aware, access to clean and safe water in adequate quantities is now a right enshrined in our Constitution. In addition, a constitutional and fundamental duty has been placed on the state and other state organs, including our county governments, who have the main responsibility of ensuring that delivery of water provision is successful. It thus bestowed on us as stakeholders a defined responsibility to take. It is also expected that the provision of services is monitored and reported to the public periodically. Ladies and gentlemen, water is an important resource for any group to manage in isolation. The vision of my ministry is to engage all stakeholders, enhance collaboration, and promote coordination and create partnerships so that the country, and the counties can secure adequate water for the present and future generations. The demand for water is expected to grow exponentially in our country over the next 15 years. Even if we invest heavily in bulk water infrastructure, it will be very difficult for supply to keep pace with the demand. Therefore, we need innovative approaches for supply and demand management options. As a country, there is need to to create the right incentives to attract private investment into areas such as efficient water use technologies, wastewater recycling, and water storage and conservation solutions. This is a must. Proactive action is desirable, and we have to take that action as stakeholders, where possible, as much as possible, together as teams. Dear WASH colleagues, allow me to share some key developments by the ministry. The core mandate of this ministry is sustainable water resource management and provide access to safe and clean water and reasonable standards of sanitation to all Kenyans and support sustainable food security and socio-economic development through viable irrigation. As you are aware, the ultimate goal of the sector is in line with the government agenda of providing clean water for all citizens, improving food security, which is also in conformity with the fourth medium-term plan agenda of the Kenya Vision 2030, Agenda 2063 on Africa that we want, Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 6, and Goal Declaration on Sanitation and Hygiene, as part of the National Water Policies principle, better intergovernmental coordination between other sector players in the development of water and sanitation facilities. The Water Act 2016 has mandated the Cabinet Secretary for Water to develop a national water sector investment and financing plan aggregated from the county government plans. This is what forms the basis for the development of NAWASIP, that is National Water and Sanitation Investment and Financing Plan, that I want to confirm that the county governments and myself have appended our signature ready for implementation. And I was hoping to meet the governor of Taveta because I think he is due to approve the priority selection of the counties that we shall start with. And I think we are committed. The document goes to all the counties, but we still must start somewhere because the resources are not all of it available together. Yeah. The water service providers operating under the counties develop plans for expanding access to water and sanitation services while giving priority to undeserved areas in its area of jurisdiction. And underserved areas in the area of jurisdiction. Now, WASIP has aggregated these plans, developed an investment program, and this investment program instrument will help us to do fundraising. In line with this, therefore, now WASIP contains input from more than 47 counties, and I think that is basically enough for that. Ladies and gentlemen, if we were to maintain the current trend of water sector budgetary allocation by 2030, it looks like as follows. Only 4.2 million households will have access to water coverage against the projected 7.3 million households in the urban areas, leaving out 3.1 million households in the same area. The cost of providing piped water in the urban areas has a 236 billion financing gap. Only 2.1 households against the projected 5.8 households, 80% households that will access water to in the urban areas by 2030. A total of 3.7 million households will therefore not have access to the water. Providing sanitation services in the urban areas has a 365 billion financing gap. Only 6.9 households will have access to improved water in the rural sources against 8.7 million households. Therefore, leaving out another 1.8 million households in our rural areas. We do have, therefore, a financing gap of 54 billion shillings to finance to the reasonable expected standard in the rural areas. The task of safety managed sanitation in Kenya remains urgent and enormous as much as in the rural areas. In other words, what we are saying, that the whole country requires our intervention, and financing therefore needs to target both urban and rural areas. According to the National Census data, the proportion of the Kenya population using safely managed sanitation services is at 32%, while the proportion accessing basic sanitation service is 5%. Unfortunately, therefore, 12.5% of Kenyans practice open, for lack of any other word, open defecation, which is a serious concern for the country. A further 22.8% of the population has limited services, while 40% are using unimproved services. The policy goal under Vision 2030 is to increase sanitation coverage in urban areas to 100%. And therefore, you can see there the coverage at the current rate in the urban areas of 40% is still very below the target. Achievement of the sanitation targets will be achieved effectively and efficiently if the plans are mainstreamed to the two levels or between the two levels of government. The alignment appreciates that access to improved sanitation installations is important for human dignity, self-esteem, gender equality, poverty reduction. Intervention, therefore, requires combined efforts with all the players. In order for sanitation to be fully enjoyed by our people and for Kenya to realize SDG 1.4 and SDG 6, it will take collaborative efforts of multiple stakeholders, including the national government as well as the county governments, NGOs or non-governmental organizations, private sector, and our development partners. Dear colleagues, as the ministry implements its mandate under the various projects or programs, access to adequate financial resources continue to be a major challenge. Financial resources for the water sector, public investments have been limited to the consolidated fund as bilateral investments continue to decline. The gap between public funding and demand continues to widen, causing delays in completion of key projects. The ministry's annual allocation from the government has, however, been on a steady rise. Save maybe I could disclose for this year, where we have serious financial constraints, it has gone down because of the austerity measures. And therefore, we have suffered quite a huge cut. We need a 100 billion investment in water per year. Last financial year, we had about 66 to 70 billion shillings per year. The ministry, therefore, is strategizing for sector to progressively move away from over-reliance on the exchequer and loans from development partners by developing prudent alternative arrangements to finance the development of infrastructure without escalating the tariffs in a manner that will affect access to water or the right to access to water by the citizens. And therefore, you see where I'm going, Governor. It means that we require investment also through the PPPs, and we have therefore openly invited investors to partner with us and look at what we have. Further, the counties should support their utilities in the tariff setting process, and on this, WASREB has developed a framework for alternative financing that is intended to guide utilities in raising funds. And I am quick to add that we need our service providers to look at their governance issues so that we can be able to manage the resources as an investment, as successful, effective entrepreneurs or business corporations. Because if we intend to continue renewing the services, then we need to accept that water should be a viable commodity. So the case for non-revenue theft, leakages are things that are within our means, and we can be able, as partners, people working together, to completely eradicate. And therefore we need to see a very quick trajectory that shows that we are working on it. Water has a high economic value in Kenya, as nearly all the country's key economic sectors rely on fresh water resources to function efficiently. Food security, wealth, health, and employment creation and poverty reduction can be achieved through accelerated development and improvement also of irrigation-based systems that allow for production throughout the year. However, the impact of climate change are a major challenge to the water and food security sectors in Kenya, disrupting, not just Kenya, I suppose, disrupting livelihoods and business operations, having adverse consequences and on many other aspects, human society and natural water. Impacts of climate change, I think, is a story that now is known by all of us, and it is, of course, the call is out there for us to participate in mitigating. It is for this reason that the ministry has been integrating climate change considerations into its various policies and strategies. Notably, there has been progress made in planning, implementing policies, projects, programs to enable the government in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Water security is focused on preventing a gap between supply and demand. The threat of climate change may make this problematic, and it will be essential for business, investors, regulators, and government agencies to understand their water-related vulnerability and value of water-related ecosystem services. Understanding these factors is vital to protect for both the environment and the economy. It is important to develop more accurate data about the services and the services that we are providing. Of course, noting the risks, the need for transformation, and the immediate actions taken. Dear Ambassador and USAID colleagues, I note with appreciation your country's WASH plan that resonates very well with the Kenyan WASH strategic plan. It addresses the core policy and strategic objectives of Kenyan WASH of the following: sustainable water resource management, provision of water and sanitation services, and strengthening governance in the sector, and finally, sustainable sector financing. As we implement the various initiatives, the ministry requests particular support in the following areas. 1, support the water sector PPP agenda to enable the sector to harness the technical and financial resources for development and management from the private sector. I hope that Washington 2 project will support the initiatives at the policy, regulatory, and transactional levels. We look forward to this space to enabling closing of the financing gap. And I think the rest, I will share a copy of my document with me in the interest of time, and conclude to say that the conversation around innovations, new technology uptakes, and emerging management approaches based on global advancement is most welcome. We look forward for these interventions from yourselves. As I conclude, let me urge all of us to think creatively about new management, supply, and demand management options. We also need to create the right incentives to attract private investors into this area. This is a must. Water sector recycling, water storage, and conservation solutions are needed like today, and therefore that approach will give us some very needed interventions. Proactive action is desirable, and we have to take that action together. Thank you very much for listening to me. Apologies, a bit lengthy, but thank you very much. I'm done. Asante sana.